without all the story about it, that means something about me, or worrying about how long it will last, or whether I'm depressed, or whether it'll be that way tomorrow. Because in the absence of all of that, my experience is I cry my heart out, and then there's a very different feeling when that ends.
It reminds me of babies.
But yeah, right? Like, I honestly, I think they're our best teachers. Babies and toddlers, they're our best teachers, And that, the more I through my own power of observation of myself and others, the more I see the wisdom. I see that as the design, I see that as very natural healing. I lost a dog when I was a child, and that dog was like, I had been very lonely. And when I got that dog became my everything, that was my best friend. And he was only about 1.5 or 2 years old when he was hit by a car.
Oh no.
And that searing pain, I felt it, but I don't recall thinking anything about it. I don't recall thinking how long, maybe I thought how long is this going to last, but certainly not, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Should I still be crying? I still cried probably for years, at least a year or two. I had moments where I would just get overcome with it and cry. But in between, when he wasn't on my mind, when I was engaged in my schoolwork or playing a game, in between, I was every bit as present as I'd always been. Like the joy that I felt in between moments of grief was every bit as rich as it had ever been. I mean, I was awake to life. I was alive to life. I was present to life, and grief would knock me down, and then it would come back again, and it would come back again. And eventually it just probably lasted less and less time and was less and less intense until one day that thinking and that missing and that grieving just had really become a thing of the past. And I didn't, I'm sure I know I cried to one friend. Oh, it was funny. Anyway, I won't go into that story. It was a very funny story. She totally didn't get it. And I ended up laughing. But I started off crying to a friend. Like, that's okay. That's natural. But I didn't have a weekly group that I had to go to talk about that. And I'm not knocking that. Like, that's fine too. But in my childhood experience, I just grieved when I needed to. And then life pulled me back into it, repeatedly until things had healed. And I don't recall having any judgment of myself about how fast I should heal, whether I was unhealthy, because a year later I still cried. Like, I just don't remember having any of that. I don't think that happened for me. I don't think I'd learned that yet. But I did go through a really hard time a few years ago. And I'm used to things, I think, sort of inevitably, as you talked about, when we stop fighting thought or holding on to thought, how it takes care of itself. Well, since I learned that, it just seems that hard, difficult moments and happy moments, everything just moves more, right? I get less stuck in one place. Everything just moves more. So things tend to not last very long for me. But I went through something, and I couldn't believe how long it was taking me to heal. And even with everything I know, I had a lot of worry about that. Even with everything I've learned, I still fell into worrying about it. I teach this stuff. How can I still be upset about this, right? How can I still be upset about this? People are funny. I don't know. We make up arbitrary rules about how long things should take, and then we measure ourselves against them, and how intense should our feelings be, and then we measure ourselves against them. But more and more, I do less and less of that. More and more I go, I'm human. I am grumpy sometimes. I'm blissed out sometimes. I am irritable sometimes. I'm frustrated sometimes, I'm anxious sometimes, and needy. I'll say things out loud like to my partner, I'll say, I'm really needy and insecure right now. Right? Like that would have been embarrassing before I understood this. Now it's like we both know it's just thought. We both know it's just a temporary experience. Like, and it just rolls off my tongue so lightly that it's not heavy. It's not heavy. I can just show up and be having whatever experience I have. And the beautiful thing is that he knows that I'm okay with it too. He doesn't have to fix it. It's not on him. But he can say, well, what can I do for you? Can I get you a cup of tea? You know, do you need a hug?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to reassure you? But boy, you know, I used to think being needy and insecure was really unattractive. Well, the only thing that might be perceived in an uncomfortable way for somebody else is my own discomfort, my own judgment, you know. It's not me. My insecurity isn't me. My thoughts aren't me. They're things that happen. And that's very freeing.